Hi, I'm George Gay, and I'd like to talk to you in this video about the prosecution of individuals who have allegedly engaged in computer crime. Typically, these are matters in the United States addressed by the national or federal government. Partly that has to do with the fact that many such activities involve the crossing of state lines, which is within the purview of the federal government primarily. States could do this, but it would relate only to those activities involving a particular state. Federal statutes also have as a virtue the fact that the federal government tends to have more resources than states to be able to address this problem. And finally, if they're dealing with this to a larger degree, it ends up meaning that they develop a particular kind of expertise. So when it comes down to these kinds of things, typically the federal government is going to end up using federal statutes. And early efforts to do this, I think, fell short because they really did not anticipate the ways in which this kind of cross-border activity involved technology. Now, there were clearly tools available, and certainly back in the early 50s, the federal government succeeded in getting enacted laws that dealt with certain forms of organized crime. So those tools remain. Rather, there's specific areas where the federal law really becomes a tool for being able to deal with one of the problems associated with the use of computers, specifically with certain offenses. For example, child pornography is a pernicious problem. It has existed probably since a time when it's possible to be able to capture images of children. So the federal government has taken steps to try to tamp down on this, especially now with the availability of computer technology to be able to transmit these images. And that it is a unacceptable type of conduct, I think, seems to be internationally recognized. Now, some who face prosecutions for possession of this and also for the creation of these items might argue that since it involves images, this is the kind of expressive conduct that is protected by the First Amendment. Freedom of speech, for example. The U.S. Supreme Court has come down solidly against this kind of argument, saying that the problems associated with child pornography are so great that making this a crime becomes a necessity to protect children. Anecdotes about instances where prosecutors have tried to address international forms of child pornography. There's a famous anecdote where as prosecutors were trying to investigate the source of child pornography, one sharp-eyed investigator recognized that there was a particular kind of toy in the background of the child and knew enough about that particular toy to be able to focus more clearly on a particular nation. So this is something that I think readily and internationally you'll find other instances of prosecution. An array of federal statutes can serve the government's approach to try to tamp down on illegal conduct using computers. A problem that preceded easy transmission of information was identity theft. It becomes a little easier now with computer technology and access to an array of databases. And so here, too, the federal government gets involved. One of the ways in which it would have authority to get involved includes the fact that we'll have those who engage in identity theft use the Social Security numbers of other people. So that would create jurisdiction. There's a lot to these kinds of problems. And so in some instances, the federal government may end up creating a specialized unit or a task force, perhaps involving local and state level law enforcement to deal with a particular problem. But here too, like with other types of facets of computer crime, there's a wide range of topics related to this. Something to think about. Thanks then.